All right, make your way to your seat if you're not there already, and whatever things you want to bring along with you, whether it's your coffee or a prop, maybe if you want to bring a towel or a throw pillow or anything else that might be showing up for you today. And make your way to your seat. So for a moment, even just check in with how you land. And what does that mean? Maybe you sit back in your chair. Maybe you choose to do something a little different and sit up. I know for myself, I actually scoot a little further forward in my chair so that I can actually feel my feet on the floor. And so you're welcome to let your arms be, maybe hang out in your lap, perhaps even palms facing up. And let's see what it might be like to take a breath together. Breathe in when you're ready. And once you reach the top of that breath, allow the exhale to fall out however it would like. Maybe it's even with a sigh or a sound. Try another one of those. Breathe in. Allow it to drop out. And notice what it's like to bring some focus to your breath that's happening on its own. And as you breathe, maybe you let your eyes close. You take that investigation a little further inward. Maybe you drop your gaze toward the floor, or even let your eyelids get a little heavier. And sense into that experience of breath right now as it's showing up. Notice the length or depth of your breath. Maybe you're even really aware of the temperature of the air that you're breathing. And so as the weather gets colder, this beautiful function we have in our system, our nose, the space around it actually warms up the air as we bring it into our bodies. It humidifies it as well. So maybe you even notice the temperature of your exhale as it leaves your body. And maybe see what it's like to offer yourself a bigger breath. Maybe it even has a sound to it. As you breathe a little bigger, notice where you start to feel your breath through your physical body. Perhaps you start to feel it through your lungs, your rib cage, your diaphragm. Maybe even through your shoulders, your back. And start to take note of that information and how your body is feeling this morning. And so sometimes when we check in with the felt sense, there's maybe some categorizing, like, oh, that feels this way or that feels that way. Maybe it feels good or bad. So rather than separating it out, notice what it's like to gather the information to inform how you choose to approach your practice this morning. Maybe as we begin to move a little more, you start to ease in rather than jump in. Just notice whatever that means for you. Maybe there's some things you are extra aware of. So as you are, take a breath in. And allow that exhale to drop out. Notice your feet on the floor. Maybe you're wearing socks or slippers or shoes. Notice that space of connection against the soles of your feet. And as you continue to breathe, bring your awareness to your seat. Notice the parts of you connecting with your seat. Maybe you even lean a little forward, a little back. And as you are, take a breath in. On your exhale, bring your chin toward your chest. Roll your head over to the right. And then exhale back towards center. Inhale, roll your head over to the left. Exhale back towards center. And continue following that movement through your head and neck, following your breath moving at your speed. And sense into what it's like to gather even more information. And as you move, you might even take note of the sensations that arise, not aiming for anything sharp or shooting. So lean into what feels appropriate for you in the moment. And that's okay if it looks different than what I'm doing. We all have different bodies. So notice how you can honor it along the way. So you're welcome to continue rolling your head from side to side, or if you'd like to switch it up, you can go ahead and bring your head back up to center. And as you breathe in, turn your head toward the right. Exhale back towards center. Inhale, turn your head to the left. And exhale back towards center. And you're welcome to continue this movement with your eyes closed if they were closed, or you're welcome to open up your eyes. Couple more breaths. On your next exhale, come back to center and let your breath continue its natural movement. Go ahead and just be aware of your fingertips, your pointers, and your thumbs, and see what it's like to bring that connection actually to your ears, to the tops of your ears. Give your ears a little bit of a pinch, a little bit of a massage. Just notice what it's like to bring some awareness to your ears. And so the reason for that, why? There's this beautiful connective tissue that lives inside of your body that actually lives inside your ears too. And our bodies has this wonderful web of connective tissue. So when we bring just a little bit of attention to one place like our ears, it actually affects the rest of our bodies. So you're welcome to stay here, or if you'd like to see how this affects your body, you can let go of your hands and then go ahead and turn your head from side to side again. And notice if you feel any difference. And maybe you do right away, or maybe you don't. And you're welcome to come back to center. We're going to bring that contact back in. Bring your hands together. Create some warmth underneath your hands. And notice what it's like to bring one hand at a time up to the top of your shoulder and then down the length of your arm. And then maybe you switch from side to side. Going up your shoulder and down your arm. And maybe you even start up further. Maybe you come up the side of your head, down the side of your neck, the length of your arm. or whatever kind of variation feels right for you. Maybe even come down the front of your arm. And just notice what it's like to actually physically wake up your body this morning. Maybe you stay with your arms, or maybe you bring your hands to the sides of your body or your back. Maybe down the length of your legs. And so I'm applying a little bit of pressure and warmth. You might want to lighten up and have more of a brushing kind of movement. Or if it feels better for you, you're welcome to gently tap. So considering the change in weather, the change in temperature, different ways of how we can wake up and warm up our bodies. Okay, once that feels complete to you, you're welcome to even continue this for the remainder of class. But once that feels complete to you, you're welcome to come back to your seat and even just notice how you feel right now. And see what it's like to bring your arms down to your sides. And let's first start with just gravity taking the arms, letting them dangle. And then notice what it's like to extend out through your fingertips, widen your fingertips and reach them down toward the ground. And as you reach your fingertips down, see what it's like to press your feet into the floor and lift your head up. So we're moving in all directions. We're pressing down, we're lifting up. Offer yourself a couple of breaths. Notice if you're breathing. How about we breathe together? Breathe in, stretch your fingers down, press your feet down, lift up. Stay here, exhale. One more, extend as you breathe in. Exhale, let it all go. All right, feel free to shake it out a little bit. And take a big breath in. On your exhale, slowly start to walk your hands down, coming into a forward fold. You are welcome to keep your elbows on your knees, or if it feels okay to round a little further forward, you're welcome to do that too. So in the forward fold, taking a few breaths, breathing in. Notice what it's like to breathe into your back. I'm going to count down for 3. Feel free to breathe at your own speed. 2. 1, slowly walking back up. And sensing into what it's like to release from that forward fold. Maybe you start to bring a little bit of a roll to your shoulders, or lifting and lowering your shoulders up to your ears and down. So we're going to transition into standing. One of the asks for today was balance, but also strength and relationship to balance. So see what it's like to come up to stand and notice for you what feels appropriate today. So we've got our chairs. We could stand behind our chairs. Another option is a wall. Maybe you have a really stable counter nearby. So those are all things we can find some support in our balance. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my chair out in front of me, but I'm going to keep it off to the side just so you can see where I am in relationship to it. So let's see what it's like to stand behind the chair. And then roll up, lift your heels up, roll toward your tippy toes. And then drop your heels and lift your toes up. And then lean forward, lift your heels, come up to your toes. And then bring your heels down, lift your toes up. So moving back and forth in our feet. And again, if it would feel better for you to sit, you are welcome to do that too, and adjust as needed. So maybe you stay here, or maybe you start to bring your breath in relationship to your movement. It could be a breath in as you come up to your toes, could be a exhale out as you come down to your heels. Or maybe if you'd like to play, lifting one arm up and then dropping it down. So we're waking up our feet, we're waking up the muscles in our lower legs. And if you notice as you press the floor down a little more, you might start to notice some of your other muscles throughout your body activating to hold yourself up. So a few more breaths. And so next time we come up to our tippy toes, we're going to hang out on our tippy toes for a little bit. Remember, you could always bring your heels down whenever you'd like. Just check in with where your breath is, and maybe you stay here. Maybe you pick up one hand or not. Maybe you pick up both, right? This is all an offering, not a have to. Check in with your breath. So ground down, bring your hands down, bring your heels back down. And then continue rocking back and forth, lifting your heels up, dropping your heels, picking up your toes. Okay, so we did tippy toes. And let's see what it's like to do our heels. Next time you make it to your heels, lift up your toes and see what it's like to play here. Maybe your legs are straight, maybe your knees are bent. Maybe you pick up one hand, maybe, or not, or maybe both. Check in with your breath. Breath can be a way that you gauge, okay, maybe I go back to that place where breath is showing up. Maybe this time we'll count down for 3, 2, 1. Bring your toes down. Feel free to shake out your legs a little bit. Maybe you shake out your arms too. Offer yourself a big breath. And go ahead and let it go. Okay, so we're going to keep on playing with balance and strength today. Even notice what it's like to bring your feet underneath your hips. And see what it's like to slowly start to shift your body from side to side. And I know that this is something we've done before. You could even do it in your seat, shifting from the right side of your seat to the left. And so this is where you get to sense into what it's like to play. If you're by a wall, maybe you feel okay letting your eyelids get a little heavy, maybe even close your eyes. Right, it's all an offering, not a have to. Okay, we're gonna start to work with this balance too. All right, so you're welcome to keep on moving from side to side, or if you'd like to switch it up, see what it's like to bring your right foot in front of your left toes, right heel in front of left toes. And then see what it's like to shift your body forward and back. Get a sense of the soles of your feet, maybe even the edges of your feet, your toes. Okay, so I know sometimes when you balance, it becomes like, how can we stare at the floor? Notice how it feels to lift your gaze up. And maybe you stay here just as you are, or maybe if you feel like exploring, maybe your right foot comes a little further forward. Maybe you lift up that right heel, or even your right toes. So see what it's like to explore for you right now. Notice where your breath is. Notice what feels true to explore. We'll keep exploring this side for balance. I'll count down for 3. Maybe you lift up one arm or both. 2, 1. Grounding both feet down to the floor. Hold on to a steady surface. Bring your feet underneath your hips and take a big breath. Let it go when it's ready. Okay, we're gonna switch to the other side. Remember, you could always come down to your seat or add in whatever movement feels natural for you. Okay, this time, bring your left heel in front of your right toes. And then see what it's like to try that out, leaning forward, back, side to side. And so maybe you stay here, or maybe you step that left foot a little further forward. Maybe you lift the heel up, or even the toes up. Notice what feels okay to explore. This leg might be a totally different experience. Check in with your breath. One hand could lift, maybe both. For 3, 2, 1. Hold on to a steady surface. Ground both feet down. Bring your feet underneath your hips. Come back to center. Maybe you offer yourself a big breath. And then let it go. Okay, feel free to shake it out too if you want. So we're going to come back to standing behind our chair. And this is where you get to play with what feels best for your feet. So maybe you do hip width apart. Maybe since you're facing the chair, maybe you bring your feet as wide as the legs of the chair in front of you. And see what it's like to soften your knees, bend your knees slightly. And then maybe you stay here, or maybe you start to sit down a little bit more, almost like you've got a seat behind you. And see what it's like to explore pressing your feet down as you bend. And find that just enough place for you. Take a big breath. As you exhale, straighten your legs. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, straighten. We'll do that 3 more times. Lower down. And straighten up. 2 more. Lower down. Straighten up. Last one. This one we're going to take a seat and kind of hang out. So bend your knees, drop your hips a little bit, and then find that just enough place for you to hang out and breathe. So maybe you stay here, maybe you bring one hand out in front of you. Maybe it feels okay to bring both. So this is where we get to play. If you've got a wall behind you, you could always lean back into the wall. Maybe your arms feel like coming out or up. So notice what feels right for you. We're going to continue to breathe and explore. Know that you could come out of this whenever you'd like. Get a countdown for 5, 4. It's okay if you bring some movement into it if you want. 3, 2, 1. Hang on to a surface. Slowly start to straighten your legs up. Take a big breath. And let it go. Maybe you shake out your legs a little bit. Okay, this time we're going to bring our feet a little wider. I'm going to move the chair only so that you can see my legs on the video, but step your feet out wide. Maybe it's a little bit wider than the legs of your chair. And bring your toes out, almost like they're at 45-degree angles, if that feels okay. And then start to bend your knees out to the side towards your big toes. Yeah. And then straighten it up. And so imagining I've got my chair here. Bend your knees out, straighten it up. You could always bring your hands to your hips if that feels okay. Bend your knees out, straighten it up. 2 more together. Bend your knees out, straighten it up. Last one, bend your knees out. We're going to explore this shape for a bit. So it's up to you how far feels okay for you. You can keep your hands here, or maybe you've got your chair in front of you. Maybe your arms come out in front of you. Maybe they come out wide, or even goalposts. So notice what feels best through your shoulders. Remember how we started with what it might feel like to bring your fingertips up. Press your feet into the floor for 3, 2, 1. Hang on to a steady surface. Go ahead, straighten your legs up, and then slowly bring your feet back underneath you. Take a big breath, and go ahead and let that go. All right, I'm gonna come to stand behind our seat for a moment, and then see what it's like to take a couple steps back, and slowly start to drop your head and chest forward. So we're coming into a little bit of a back bend, but with the support of our chair. So maybe your head starts to come and drop in between your arms. Your gaze could rest on the floor, maybe towards your feet. Offer yourself a couple of breaths. Gonna count down for 3, 2, 1. Slowly start to walk back toward your chair, coming back up to stand. And take a big breath and let it go. We're going to come into a balancing pose called tree. And again, you're welcome to do this standing or seated. So standing, get a sense of what leg you'd like to work with. I'm going to shift over into my left leg. And so there's a couple of options. You could even just stay with both feet on the floor. Maybe you lift one heel up with the toes still on the floor. That heel could stilt against your opposite ankle if you'd like. Or maybe it comes up to your calf or shin. So do what feels best for you. You can always come to seated and do this as well. Legs would be the same exact thing. And so this is where you get to choose. If you've got a wall behind you, then your hands are free. You could always lean back into the wall. Or if you're hanging onto a counter or a chair, maybe if you want to try bringing one hand to center, maybe you press your palms in toward one another. Or maybe you start to grow up some branches, whatever that might be. Maybe it's out or up. So your version of tree pose. Remember, all trees look different, and no tree is perfectly still all the time, right? The elements, they move with the elements. So notice what it's like to come into your version of tree. I'm gonna count down for 5. It's okay if you're moving in the wind. 4, it's okay if you touch down and then just come right back. 3, 2, 1, release down, bring your feet underneath you, and even just pause for a moment. Notice what it's like to come out of that. And when you're ready, moving toward the other side. So shifting over to the other leg, maybe again, you choose to stay both feet on the floor. And then you pick your version. Maybe you lift your heel up. Maybe that heel stilts against the opposite ankle. Maybe the sole of the foot comes to your calf or shin. And then you get to choose what happens with your branches. Do your palms stay pressing in toward one another? Maybe your arms feel like coming downward instead. So pick what works for you, and perhaps you even start to play with your gaze, lifting up to a spot in front of you that's not moving. Maybe you even start to walk your gaze up the wall toward the ceiling. So coming into your version of tree, counting down for 3, 2, 1. Hang on to a surface. Bring your feet down underneath you. Take a big breath. Go ahead and let it go. All right, see what it's like to release your arms, bring your feet out a little wider. Maybe let your arms just sort of swing from side to side. Or if it would feel better for you, you could gently lift and lower your heels. Give yourself a little bounce. All right, we're gonna make our way back to our seat, but before we do, we're gonna come into mountain pose. And again, you're welcome to take this in your chair if your body's telling you, yep, I'd like to be in my chair. Or if you want to lean against the wall, you're also welcome to do that, or hang on to your chair, the back of your chair. But see what it's like to bring your feet underneath you. Press your feet into the floor and notice that connection of you activating your legs as you press down. And as you press down, notice how it feels to lift your upper body up. And for a moment, check in to see if you're breathing. And let's see if we bring our breath in on purpose. So breathe in, bring your shoulders up. Exhale, roll them down and back. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, shoulders up. Exhale, roll them down and back. Last one. Inhale, shoulders up. Exhale, roll them down and back. Okay, see what it's like to do all of those combined. So shoulders are open, feet are pressing, body's lifting into Tadasana, mountain pose. We'll count down for 5, 4. Maybe even bring your arms out wider, take up a little bit more space. 3, 2, 1. Let it all go. And we'll make our way back to our seats. So if there's any movement that you want to do before coming back to your seat, you're welcome to do that. Make your way back to your chair. Even just check in with how your body feels in this moment. Bring your arms to your sides. On your next breath, press your feet down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, arms down. Inhale, reach out, maybe up. Exhale, arms down. Inhale, reach out. This time, as you exhale, fold forward. Maybe you come down the center, or maybe your arms open up. On your next inhale, rise and reach up. Exhale your hands to center. Take a big breath. Arms to your sides. Bring your arms out wide and then cross them in front of you. Give yourself a little squeeze. And bring them out wide again. Switch what arm is on top. Give yourself a squeeze. So we'll do one more on each side. Open it wide, maybe you even look up. Give yourself a squeeze. Last one. Open up. Cross. Give yourself a squeeze. You can go ahead and let that go. All right. So extend your left leg out in front of you and bring your heel to the floor. Okay. So imagine, I don't know about you, but this is baking season for me too. Imagine you've got a big wooden spoon at your side. We're going to pick up that spoon, imaginary spoon, and we're sitting in a giant mixing bowl. So we're going to go all the way out to the right, to the front, by our toes to the left, and then as far back as we can. So we're mixing. And so you're welcome to stay with your leg extended on the floor, or if you want to imagine, you can lift your foot up and press it into the side of that imaginary bowl. As we stir. And check in with your breath. If you haven't switched directions yet, we're going to go ahead and switch directions. Just a few more stirs. Couple more. Last one. All right, go ahead, let that go. If you've got your foot lifted up, you bring it back to the ground, take a big breath, and let that go. All right, we're gonna switch sides. Extend your right leg, bring that heel to the floor, and then whatever you wanna grab onto. We're gonna go out toward our toes, all the way to the right, as far back as you can, and all the way to the left. Mixing, mixing, mixing. And move at your own speed. So you don't have to move at the speed that I'm going. And so you're welcome to stay here, or if you want to pick that foot up off the floor and pretend it's pressing into the side of that bowl, you're welcome to do that too. If you haven't switched directions, go ahead and switch directions. Check in with your breath. For 3, 2, 1. Okay, go ahead, let that go. Bring your feet to the floor. Take a big breath. And let it go. All right. Lean on back in your chair. Bring your arms out wide. Maybe you bring your hands behind your head, coming into a gentle back bend. And so you're welcome to continue to be here. Or maybe there's any natural movement you'd like to take in your body right now that we haven't done yet today. So feel free to explore that. For yourself, we're going to transition to a place to pause for a few moments. And if you'd like to add an additional layer of how we started with that contact or touch, you're welcome to, again, bring a little bit of warmth and pressure down your arms, maybe down your legs. Maybe you want to even bring that to your eyes, your face, your forehead, maybe even up the length of your head, down the line towards the back of your head and neck. And then once that feels complete to you, find a place where you'd like to pause. Maybe you lean back in your chair this morning, or maybe that place where you started feels better for you. So finding a place to pause, again, maybe you let your eyes close, or perhaps you look toward the ground, or your eyelids get a little heavier. And transitioning into this space, feel free to offer yourself a few breaths. And notice what it's like to sit back and sense into what it's like to simply be as you are in this moment. Find your way back to your breath, maybe even take a deep breath. And allow it to release as it's ready. You can bring some movement back into your body. You can wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe you gently rock your head from side to side, slowly bringing a little bit more movement, bringing your awareness back into your space. Maybe you even stretch from your fingertips to your toes. And we'll meet together with our palms pressing. If it feels okay for you, perhaps your thumb knuckles rest against your sternum. And coming to this place, notice this contact between yourself and your physical body, these layers of how you experience life. And perhaps you offer up some gratitude to yourself for showing up today, however you are. And if you'd like, you could bring your thumb knuckles up to your forehead, offering up some gratitude to our ancestors, to your ancestors, to mine, that allow us to tap into this wisdom that lives inside ourselves, and also to the ancestors of these practices that have allowed us to understand ourselves that much more. And if you'd like, you could offer your gaze down toward the earth, offering up some gratitude to this place that continues to connect us, to house us, to nurture us, and whatever commitment or responsibility we have in relationship to that. And when you're ready, you're welcome to take in this community that has shown up today.